Speaker, State Argus, name and purpose, page Argus.
Good morning, everybody. This is a particularly close topic to my heart. I was incredibly fortunate. I almost lost my son, and I can't even imagine what it would feel like to have someone so important to you now suddenly out of your life. So today I'm going to give you the opening to a keynote address I'll be giving. So you are a group of medical professionals. This is Emergency Medicine Conference. So good morning, everybody. Whether you came here by car, boat, train, scooter, e-bike, jet ski, I am overjoyed that you all made it here safely today. It's been said that certain moments in your life can be so impactful that they mark your life, meaning that after that moment, your life will be changed forever. I experienced just that on September 19th, 2013. This is the date where my world collided with your world. Of course, I always have held a deep respect for everything that you do, but it wasn't until that day that I fully understood just how vitally important all of your jobs are. What you do really matters. So for me, time is now measured as before Alex's skateboard accident and after. Prior to September 19th, I was just a normal mom, doing more normal mom things. I chauffeured my kids to soccer practice. I was a room mom. I volunteered for the PTA, and I juggled a busy career. Ironically, I was also known as the crazy helmet mom in my neighborhood. When kids would get dropped at my house and they were going to be going out on wheels, I made them grab a helmet out of the big bucket of helmets in my garage. Most of my son's peers did not wear helmets, and neither did the professional skaters or role models in the media. It's a hard battle to fight when the influences on my teenage son are so much stronger than mine. Nevertheless, I nagged Alex constantly about the importance of wearing a helmet. And he always did, until he didn't. It was a warm summer night, and there was a buzz of excitement in the air. We were packing up the car to take my daughter up to her first year of college the next day. Extended family came over to wish her farewell. We ordered some pizza, and all the kids went out front to play in the cul-de-sac while we waited for the pizza to arrive. Suddenly, my daughter came screaming into the house and led me outside to see Alex having seizures, head slamming on the ground over and over and over on the concrete, his skateboard askew nearby. I recall sitting in the front seat of the ambulance, watching helplessly as the paramedics worked to get his vitals and administer oxygen to him. My son remained unconscious while the seizures continued all the way down to Rady Children's Hospital. So now all of you are on the caregiving side of trauma. So this is just like a day in the life for you. You jump to action, you take care of it. But just for me, for an average mom living an average life, not even realizing how trauma happens in an instant and upends your life forever. And from the very first encounter with the medical team in the ambulance, the EMTs held space for me while I completely freaked out. I was terrified, and I pleaded with the driver, "Is he going to be okay?" Finally, at Rady's, Alex was whisked behind closed doors, off to CT while I waited, stunned silent on the outside, mind whirling on the inside. Soon the doctors came out to report that the CT was all bad news. And quickly, Alex had every tube and wire in the hospital, or so it looked to me, hooked up to every part of his body while he lay motionless in a medically induced coma in the intensive care unit. Helpless and scared, we asked the neurosurgeon how we could best support Alex during this time. And he told us to talk to him, sing to him, play his favorite music, hold his hand, read to him, and decorate his room. My husband, the engineer, said, "But can he hear us?" And I'll never forget the neurosurgeon's response. He said, "His soul can hear you." His soul can hear you. Whew. So that one comment had such a strong impact on us that it guided all of our actions over the next 3.5 weeks in the ICU. Think about that power that everyone in this room has. Your words matter. What you say to a suffering family matters. That doctor ultimately gave us, in one short sentence, the coping tools we needed to be present with our son during his long recovery. We only allowed positive energy in the room, no crying, no negativity, only love and lots of prayer. Here's another example of helpful verbal support we received during our stay. After the sedatives were weaned off, Alex failed to wake up and remained in a vegetative, non-responsive state. They conducted an MRI and found that the damage was far worse than they had expected. The scan showed that Alex had suffered diffuse axonal injury, and in simple terms, that means when the axons that connect the two hemispheres of the brain are sheared or damaged. The doctors couldn't tell us if Alex would stay in this vegetative state forever or make a full recovery or fall somewhere along that huge spectrum. They told us that brain injury is a marathon and not a sprint. Only time would tell. Honestly, I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Why my son? I want to hear his booming voice, his infectious laugh. I want to feel his big bear hugs. This is not fair. So when his nurse took both my hands into hers, and she looked me in the eyes, and she told me, "You can do this. Alex really needs you to be strong and hold it together." And she said, "Paige, you haven't left this place in over 3.5 weeks. You need to go over to the Ronald McDonald House and get some rest. I promise you, I will not leave his side, and I will call you if there's any changes." So I begrudgingly took her advice, left my son's side, went over, got some rest, and she was right. In the morning, I had a renewed sense of hope. I had this kind of dream or vision that this was Team Alex. And we had these buttons made, Team Alex, and we handed them out to all of our friends and family and the staff that would accept them. I had a renewed sense of hope, and I was ready to take on the next challenge with the help of the entire hospital team behind us. We felt supported by the entire team: family, friends, doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, social workers, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists. They were all working together to help Alex get through this. And so while most everyone was very supportive, even just one negative response or negative experience can really stick with you. I remember vividly a first-year resident, neurology resident, came into the room, walked right past us, and went up to my son and started grinding on his chest and yelling in his face. And we just sat there horrified that this was happening. So we stood in shock, not knowing what was happening, whether he was providing standard of care or whether I should just take him out right now. So with feedback, that new doctor received coaching that he needed. And I've tried to pass this experience and this lesson on to other medical professionals I meet, to never forget how fragile and vulnerable a family is at a time like that. So whenever you're doing for the patient has a direct impact on the loved ones in the room. So this talk isn't simply an opportunity to tell you all a really sad story. It's really an opportunity to tell me how incredibly grateful I am to you. How every medical professional along the line who took care of Alex, for each first responder and the trauma team members that followed protocol and did everything expertly and perfectly, there will be a lifetime of gratitude in my heart for all of you. And while you deal with people who are hurting or angry or in very dark, vulnerable places in their life, you have the power to give them light, to not just help your patients heal, but to also to hope and to fight. This is an honorable and the highest value work of humanity. And I imagine you rarely see the outcomes of your work because you're at the beginning of the care chain. Many patients like Alex require ongoing support, multiple medical teams, and tons of time to heal. When do you get to see the long-term fruits of your labor as those who you meet on the street or at the front door of your hospital? Well, here he is. Alex is doing amazing, and it's all thanks to you. So we'll circle back to Alex in a bit, but first, show of hands. How many of you lost someone you care about due to a serious injury? And how many of you had someone you care about sustain a serious injury, whether that be a parent that has fallen, a friend involved in a serious car crash, a friend hit by a car on their bike? Perhaps a neighbor whose teenager was seriously injured or maybe even killed while riding their skateboard or e-bike. What would you do to prevent those things from ever happening again? You see, I'm not just standing here as a mom of a boy with a traumatic brain injury. I'm now also the Injury Prevention Community Outreach Coordinator for the Trauma Service at Scripps Memorial Hospital, La Jolla. When Alex was injured, I left my job to care for him on his long road to recovery. And like many other TBI survivors and their caregivers, the aftercare journey was almost as difficult as the hospital stay. Securing services in an outpatient environment, struggling to locate providers that specialize in TBI recovery and treatment, filling out insurance paperwork, appealing insurance denials, you name it. And as fate would have it, when I was ready to enter their workforce, Scripps was looking to expand their trauma program to meet the requirements of a level 1 trauma center. And they had a new role posted for the Injury Prevention Coordinator position. And a feat of fearlessness inspired by my incredible son's own fearless healing journey, I applied. And so instead of being a patient's family in the trauma and injury world, suddenly I'm a partner in this fight for prevention. Early in my new job, I received powerful advice from a trusted colleague at UC Davis to never underestimate the power of having a conversation over a cup of coffee or sitting around a table and brainstorming about possible solutions to common problems. The world of prevention is dependent on the strength of collaboration. An example of this is the dramatic reduction in motor vehicle crashes since the 1960s. This has been achieved by a multidisciplinary approach with the cooperation of urban planners, traffic engineers, improved safety features in car design, legislation, and enforcement of speed limits. Each and every one of you are a stakeholder. How can my work support your work? How can we work together to keep preventable injuries out of our ERs and trauma bays? I want to grab a cup of coffee with all of you, or a call or an email works too. As Benjamin Franklin famously said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Find me today and let's chat. Thank you.